Hello everybody and welcome back to another Supreme Commander Forged Alliance Forever cast. Today something a little bit different. Now if you remember a long time ago we casted a survival game with an AI. Well today we have a 4v4. We have 4 human players and we have 4 AI players. And no one has really casted one of these games. So I'm not an expert on the AI, so I have a co-caster today. I have the creator of the M27 AI today. I've got Maudlin sitting in the co-casting spot to answer some questions and give some analysis on what the AI is doing.
Hi Derp, thanks for having me on.
So we'll go around and introduce our players, but this is on the map gen. We've got a big area in the middle here, not so much reclaim today, but we've got these kind of like plateaus up on the corner. Interesting to see what the AI will do with that. So starting off, our lowest rated player today, we've got Solidsnakedk. Now that could be Solidsnakedk, or it could be Solidsnake Death Knight.
You know what DK stands for?
Donkey Kong?
Drift King.
What do you mean, drift?
He's in the red UEF, lowest rated player. Then next up we've got Kazuya from the T3 clan going in Aeon. Next to him we have Zigster from the SC clan. He's playing in Cybran. And last but not least, for the humans, we've got Taily in another blue Aeon. So heavy showing for the Aeons today on the human team. And for the M27 team, they're all rated 700, so definitely giving up a lot of rating to their opponents. We have Ivan down here in Russian grey. Then we've got Phoenix, we've got Devon, and we've got Angel up here in the Aeon ACU. Now they're playing the AI here, M27, has a slight advantage in resources. I think it's playing on 1.2, is that right? Or maybe 1.25?
Yep, 1.2, so it gets a 20% boost to resources and build power.
So it's going to be building a little bit faster. The mechs is obviously no change to the resources there, but it has a slight buff to that, which you'll see if we put it on reclaim. But that is kind of to counter the fact that the AI normally doesn't fight particularly efficiently in games. However, M27 is the best FAF AI currently. It's the strongest, and it has a habit of killing people much quicker than they expect. So we'll have a look at what the AI is doing, and it looks like we've got basically land builds for the bottom team, the bottom AIs, but at the top and in the middle we've got second air and building transports. So we're going to see some transported engineers here. The old FAF UI loves to transport engineers around the map and try to reclaim your mexes. So is M27 as such a hardcore fan of that, or is it...
No, so it will be building transports because it's spotted the plateaus and it wants to grab the mexes, so...
Very
sensible. I expect
sensible.
it'll just be loading up a couple of engineers, sending them to the plateaus, and then it'll probably get an early bomber to try and kill the enemy's engineers.
Does it do distance builds?
Do you mean cliff building? What do you mean?
Like, yeah, can it like build up the cliff with the ACU and stuff?
No, the only case where it does is for building a naval factory with the ACU.
Okay, so it builds into the water. Okay, that makes sense.
Sometimes it's map dependent, so on settings it can manage to do it from some of the start positions. From the rock position, I think it usually manages it.
Well, you're definitely right about that early Tech 1 bomber. Devon here, our 700 AI, he's locked an engineer here early on with his bomber. And another bomber from Angel, and I guess canonically, the Aeon identify as she, her. They are a matriarchy after all, aren't they? So law-wise, I'm pretty sure. So a whole bunch of engineers queued up with those bombers. Zigster has put out some inties, so probably not going to get too much done with them. And transports for the AI down to the bottom. Now, who are we rooting for? I feel like, as M27's parent, really, you should be rooting for the AI here, Maudlin.
Yeah,
you've got like a real, like the
the
divine creator vibe going on. You're like Data's father. So perhaps I should root for the human players. So they don't get terminated. Particularly for Solidsnakedk. There we go. He's rushing T2. He's got a single T2 mech, no units at all. Apart from this little group here, trying to rush a plasma cannon in the middle of the map. That's very brave. But it looks like he is going to complete it. Interesting that the AI primaried his tanks there rather than the rather than the engineer building the plasma cannon. And this looks like quite a scary push here. We've got 3 of the M27 ACUs in mid. We've got Devon, we've got Phoenix, and we've got Ivan. They're all pushing mid with their ACUs, and I'm not sure Zigster can see their ACUs here. He has absolutely no idea of the world of hurt he's about to be in. Ivan suddenly blinks on and he moves back. Is M27 going to do a triple com push? Will it do that?
It doesn't coordinate that well between ACUs, so although it might, it takes allied ACUs into account to a small extent.
Right.
But it won't. It's not good at doing a coordinated sort of 3 ACU versus 1 a lot of the time. So yeah, I'm not sure whether or not it will try and push. Well, you can see already one of the ACUs dropped down, but the other two are still going.
These
but
two
it
are
won't
still
take much
pushing.
for them to turn around, I think.
Devil is actually going for a mechs. So does it calculate the ACUs as like they're kind of like a volume of mass and units and firepower, or does it see them as more than that? This is a very cheeky. Do you see this cheeky Aurora here killing a mechs in Taily's core base? That's absolutely disgusting. He should not be allowed to get away with that. What a monster. Sorry, I interrupted you there.
That's okay. Yeah, I suppose there's a lot of logic. Well, so much that I'm often not sure how the ACUs are going to react. It's
that sounds scarily like you've lost control of it and it's already doing a Skynet.
I got an idea of what it should do, but there's so many exceptions and exceptions to the exceptions that it doesn't always do what I'd expect.
I believe it is an emergent property.
Explain.
Complex systems can sometimes behave in ways that are entirely unpredictable. The human brain, for example, might be described in terms of cellular functions and neurochemical interactions. That description does not explain human consciousness, a capacity that far exceeds simple neural functions. Consciousness is an emergent property.
In other words, something that's more than just the sum of its parts.
Exactly.
Yeah, I suppose most units are sort of almost work on a mass basis, so they'll estimate how dangerous a threat is based on how much mass is in that unit.
Right.
The ACUs are a special case, and they'll take into account, for example, upgrades. If M27 has a gun ACU and it's up against an ACU that doesn't have a gun, then it's going to be a lot more aggressive. That sort of thing.
I see. Look at that cheeky Ivan engineer at the top. It's building a factory right on the plateau there. That's very, very cheeky. And it looks like Kazuya has had to start making flares from his own ACU to fight that off. Eco-wise, M27 is off to a flying start here. It's got like a 30%, maybe even 35-40% eco advantage over its human team here.
Yeah, and often I find with these replays where it's the cheap modifier, it will usually, as expected, race to an early lead because it can expand slightly faster and gets a resource boost, and then on sort of the closer games, human players will then sort of often gradually improve their eco, and then late game, usually the AI will struggle a lot more because it's easier for a human to just dedicate all of their resources to ecoing up.
It did get so the bottom AI Phoenix here managed to get a factory down here, but it seems to be a bit confused in the bottom left corner about where to send its units. It's kind of stuck on the cliff there. But he has forced 2 PD, so it's actually already paid for itself, that factory. One thing I really did like to see, like a lot of AIs tend to just, in RTS games, they tend to just like zerg into defenses. But I definitely liked how M27 had its fervors and focused the PD up that was up here earlier. And then, rather than just zooming units, it deliberately sent Tech 1 arties. That was quite clever of it. Is that a range calculation it's doing, or?
Yeah, it does a lot of range calculation. I mean, it tends to favour long-ranged units, so it likes things like long geese and hoplites. Because the fact that with unlimited API, it can just attack with higher range units and then try and retreat them.
Super amounts of APM. That's not really what I'd expect, actually. I'd expect it to kind of go for units that didn't require a lot of micro, but if it can make those decisions really quickly, suddenly the micro units become really strong for it.
Yeah, it's interesting, because some units, like hoplites and mongoose, it's really good at compared to a human player. In that, I'd say it's probably does better with them than your average human, but then sniper bots, it's never really seems to do that well with sniper bots, even though my understanding sort of higher rated players find them too powerful until the recent nerf.
One thing that is slightly concerning me about my human team here is that we are at 10 minutes and at no point have they made any attempt to scout the enemy base. None. None whatsoever. They have no idea. That is slightly worrying me compared to your M27 team here, who have a pretty good idea of all the tech. They see the Tech 2 factories, they see the mechs levels. So,
It is one disadvantage it has though, because essentially how it will, all its plans for how to approach a game is set in advance. So if particularly some of these players would have played it a number of times, so they've got used to what sort of tricks
they'll have
it
an
has.
idea of what it kind of goes for.
Sometimes it can still surprise them though.
That's good. It seems to be doing fairly evenly on map control, kind of split down the middle, to be honest. It looks like all of those expansions. Yeah.
Doing okay at the top, it looks like.
That's because Taily has managed to kind of cut off all these Tech 1 units at this choke point here with his... He's got the Aeon range gun. And Tech 2 engineers at the top for Solidsnakedk. And I think he's going to get reclaim ward 2-1. His Tech 2 engineer is going to get reclaimed by a Tech 1 engineer by from Angel here. Angel Chan kills his Tech 2 engineer. Oh no, another crushing defeat for the humans. Taily now, he's at 1500 and he's under attack by gunships. Tech 1 bombers over the top. He has no anti-air nearby. A flak is kind of a little bit out of position here, but should get to him in time. The gunships were recalled. And all of the other ACUs, in fact, every ACU at M27 here has an assisting parashield of some sort. Devon has gun. Angel has double gun. Okay, she's feeling very aggressive today. Phoenix has gun. And Ivan has double gun. So 12-minute. All the ACUs there for Team M27 have gun, and they are looking to be aggressive right now.
Yeah, this is the point I'd expect M27 to capitalise on. The Tech 2 stage, it tends to do quite well because it can always have the sort of the mobile shield with its ACU once it's got gun. Unless it comes up against a human Aeon gun bomb, that's its probably the main weakness if it's not Aeon itself, due to it being outranged.
Yeah, I can see it. I can see it's there's a mongoose here, and it's definitely microing it just to stay in range individually. Now you could do that if you're a human player, but you just wouldn't. The damage from it just isn't worth it. So this double gun push here is actually looking quite dangerous. And it's not just the shields, it's actually that behind the ACUs there's like 4 flaks, 5 flaks as well, so you can't really deal with it with air. Taily is
upgraded as well, so
he's Zigster. Yeah, he has no gun himself. He's got no Tech 2 nearby to build with, but he does have bricks, and bricks are pretty strong. So he's done a Tech 3 land rush. Kazuya's got a Tech 3 air rush, although his first T3P gen is not going to be adjacent to his air factory because he's kind of made some interesting decisions with where to put that air factory. Taily took a lot of damage from those Tech 1 bombers, but not Doesn't look like he's going to invest in the personal shield with Aeon.
He's got a gun con bearing down him as well, so he's in trouble if he doesn't fall back.
Those obsidians look very scary if you don't have overcharge. And he does have...
He's going in for the cool kill on Taily. Oh no, the gunship's been called off.
I'm just going to split here because Zigster is under threat and so is Taily. When you look at the map, Solid Snake is just chilling at the top. He's vibing. Great overcharge from Devon. Takes out some T3 units there. Takes out the T3 anti-air. Zigster down to 2,000 health. Ivan, though, has bitten off a little bit too much on the bottom half. He's overcharging, but he's walked into some Tech 1 PD and taken quite a bit of damage. Now he's kind of surrounded by Tech 1 tanks.
Yeah, I think he's just dead here.
Yeah, I think he's written a check he can't cash there. He's cleverly, he is staying out of range of the Tech 1 PD. Zigster is really low. He took some bombing damage there. He's down to less than 1k. But our first kill of the match, and that goes to the team, the human team. Ivan bows out. Just a little bit too aggressive. He had all these Tech 2 units at the back as well, just didn't quite bring him with him. Zigster nearly died. He really nearly died there. But looks like these bricks will be enough to ward off the ACUs.
Said although M27 lost its con, it's now taken all of the mechs in the south that it had.
Yeah, it has taken all these. And that eco has gone to Devon, is that right? Yeah, Devon now has double base, so his eco is now at 200. Which is quite scary for 15 minutes into the game, I have to say. Oh, Devon is actually going to get taken out by Mercies here. That is an absolutely filthy play. How dare the humans do this? And his explosion kills the gunships that he had going, probably for Zigster. So 2 losses already for the M27 team. And all that
One
eco...
benefit they have though is normally a human player, you kill them and it makes it harder because the other team has to spread their APM.
Yeah, true.
Around. Although having said that, M27 suffers with its logic in that it's focused around where it's the main base, so if it inherits a base, it'll make use of the unit, the eco and the factories, but it won't do as good a job at defending it.
Well, it looks like Angel is going to retreat here. And Solid Snake is doing he's doing a Chad UEF move. He's just building PD everywhere. Literally everywhere, all over the map. He's got RTs, Tech 2 PD, and Flax everywhere. He's just looking to build his way across the map. Now, how will M27 kind of calculate all those PDs? Does it see them as like a base, or does it see them as units, or just firepower and mass?
It depends. So Tech 2 artillery is one where I think how it will work is it ignores it until it starts doing really well and getting loads of kills, and then it tries keeping units away. So initially it will almost act as though the Tech 2 artillery isn't there, whereas the Tech 2 PD will try and get units that outrange the PD to take it down. But given they're quite far away, I suspect it's probably not going to make a concerted attempt to try and take out those PD at the moment.
Taily is still getting
So,
Tech 1 bombed on the bottom.
closer to the base.
Angel took quite a bit of damage from those Tech 2 RTs, actually. What is she doing in her base? Well, she has Tech 3 air, she has Tech 3 land. First T3 PGen is almost up. Lots of Tech 2 units on the field. What are our humans doing? Well, Zigster had to take cover in that shield because he nearly got picked off there. Kazuya's building an air grid, which is kind of exactly what you'd expect to see.
about to see a strap bomber from Angels. It'll be interesting if it managed to get any success.
Yeah, actually, not just the strat bombers, but there's a serious number of Tech 1 bombers. We've got 15 Tech 1 bombers, 2 Nothers, some Janus, and a strat, and they're all going after Taily here. He's kind of out on his own. I don't see any anti-air with him.
And he's being hover bombed. Didn't manage to get
Didn't get the hover bomb off there. Swifties come into cover. Well, those Tech 1 bombers went off after the... another no drop for the strat there. Here comes the hover bomb. Oh, I got him. It's very cool to see it do micro tricks like that, I have to say. It's slow moving it, look. There goes another bomb. Oh, he's down to 1,500 health. Kazuya forced to come in and defend him. Meanwhile, at the top, Solid Snake is under attack by air as well. Lots of Tech 1 bombers and Janus on him. Both ACUs kind of out of position there. Another strat for Angel-chan. He's really pushing the air right now, despite not having any ASF. But I guess the human ASF just isn't really in the right position. It's hard to be everywhere all at once if you're only human. Another hover bomb. And that's going to be all she wrote for Solid Snake. Oh, no. Poor guy. I have to use the Metal Gear Solid death sound for that one, that's for sure.
So it was a first rank player.
Yeah. So all of Solid Snake's eco is going to go to Taily. No? Who passes it over to Kazuya, okay. And now hover bombing the bricks. So, pretty smart. Sniper bots for Taily. He's down to 3,000 health, but he picked up the shield after he almost got rinsed there by air. And looks like more air defense used for these bricks. Lots of Tech 1 bombers. How does the AI calculate what's the best air unit to build? Because it's made some gunships, it's made bombers, it's made Tech 2 bombers, it's made strats. How does it kind of calculate what the best one is at the time? Or does it just use the factory for whatever it can make?
So usually it uses Tech 1 bombers as its main means of defending as an air unit instead of gunships and strats. And strat bombers it's trying to usually pick up Tech 2 mexes. So
okay.
When it hits Tech 3 it'll usually try and get a strat bomber, but then if it's got enemies attacking like here, I'd expect it to be getting loads of bombers. If it's not being pressured, then it starts getting things like gunships rather than Tech 1 bombers or strats.
Good work here by Zigster's bricks. He has managed to pick up quite a lot of T3 mexes with them, to be quite honest. All of these bricks with nearly 10,000 mass killed. That's actually really AI-like if you think about it. That the AI would disregard like big shiny experimental units for like millions of tiny Tech 1 bomber drones. That's like almost the most AI tactic I can think of. If you think like that's actually how a Skynet would fight.
That's made me play differently though. I started doing that in a few games and it worked out better than I was expecting. Tech 1 bombers.
It's been
often it's like just spamming them up and killing an experimental with them can work.
It's been learning from Slow. He always used to spam Tech 1 bombers, that was his thing. Nothing quite as terrifying as seeing 1 million Tech 1 bombers coming for you. can't really do that much about it. Angel completes an experimental, so she has a GC out. What does our human team here have that can kind of fight that? Not very much, to be honest. I don't see any experimental tech on the field for the human team.
They've got air control now, though.
They do, yeah. I feel like the AI constantly just attack moving its ASF into the human ASF ball is probably not the best plan for it, but yeah, you're right about the strats. Look, always trying to sneak them round and pick up Tech 2 mexes. See, it's picking up one here that gets killed, but on the top it's doing the same thing with another strat, and that one gets missed because the human has one ball of ASF, which is really smart. I'd love to see the humans bring their ASF up to deal with this, and then the AI bring another strat down south, but there is now 2 strats basically hover bombing T2 mexes. The ASF obviously come back for one of them, but the damage is done there, to be honest. 6 Tech 2 mexes lost.
Trent's in trouble at the bottom there, the sniper box. It's struggling to
yeah.
get without any Tech 2 artillery.
That's quite a good place for the sniper bots to be, actually, firing into the base from there. So it wouldn't build Tech 2 artillery to defend its base. I guess that's because it's passed over the base and it kind of sees it as not its own, or is that not something it considers?
I forgot that it was inherited. I was wondering why it wasn't building Tech 2 artillery, because it's meant to, but yeah.
It's an inherited base.
Inherited base, so it's... If the sniper bots get closer to the other base, I'd expect...
Tech 2 artillery response.
Tech 2 artillery.
Well, the GC is in the middle of the map already, and it looks like it's got 1,000 move orders here, all on the cliff. That's quite strange. But going to start getting rid of those units. Will the GC just push in? Because I feel like if it pushes in, there's not a lot the humans can do. I saw a spider started, but that has only got 3 engineers on it. It's a long way off, to be honest. And
I hope so. I mean, one problem M27 suffers is with cliffs, because it will look for sort of the nearest unit, but it's not calculating how long it takes to travel there, so that GC might get distracted by the far base
yeah.
rather than the other units.
And Kazuya are going to be being a filthy cheat and using mercies here on the GC. Now these are pre-patch mercies, remember, so they are big alpha strike, not damage over time.
I think that cliff's messed up at 27. Normally, without that cliff there, it would have probably gone straight for the main base, but it's just gonna...
Saved by a piece of terrain. It will get rid of this base, though. I don't think the mercies will kill it in time. Block of Tech 2 army here for Phoenix, and the strat just kind of flew over the top but didn't get a bomb off. If it had managed to bomb those snipers, that would have relieved a lot of pressure.
It has started getting Tech 2 artillery though, so it should be able to hopefully defend the sniper bots, although it's going to lose a base.
It has a bit of Tech 2 artillery now. Second GC on the way. Air staging for Angel and a Tech 3 artillery, but it's paused currently. And that GC has left a very large amount of mass for the humans. This should let them kind of get back into the game, because they're currently 200 mass behind. They could also mercy Phoenix here. He only has 3 shields. There's not a lot of anti-air, just couple of flaks out front. but a bit of a fail there by Kazuya. He could have targeted a Mercy on each of the flags and then gone for the ACU. This push at the bottom has been really problematic. Lost a whole base here, Phoenix, unfortunately. Zigster finishes his spider, starts a second, but he's built that on Tech 2 mexes, which is incredibly inefficient. If you've done any kind of Forged Alliance Forever math crafting on the back of a napkin, you will know that making experimentals on Tech 2 mexes is almost never a good idea. He has been forced into that. That will put him up behind quite a bit on eco if he was against a human player. Against an AI who can already macro like an absolute god, it will put him even further behind.
They're fortunate as well on the top. They've got a bunch of mobile missile launchers trying to shoot the PD, but the missiles aren't actually doing any damage.
I think there's a little bit of, there's a tiny block of terrain just before the PD that's just outside of the splash range, but the artillery will deal with it. So a little bit of a different game today, but half the player base of FAF does actually play almost exclusively against the AI, so it looked very much like that GC actually kicked that brick in the face there, which was amazing. Okay, ASF, here we go, the air fight. Kazuya goes for the gunships, in come the ASF for Angel, but not the best micro there, but for the AI, and just keeping a bigger ball over everything has paid off for Kazuya. In comes Phoenix, he turns the stealth off and then back on again. Not exactly sure why you would be turning it off and on during a fight. Why is the AI doing that? Is there some kind of... what reason could it have for turning the stealth off and on mid-combat?
It's almost separate, so it's not based on whether they're in combat or not.
Oh,
it's
okay.
just, it's got the power to have the stealth on, it'll have it on. If it's short of power, it'll turn it off.
I thought that was going to be some next level strategy where we all learn that, like, if you disable or enable the stealth, it like breaks targeting or something.
Sadly not.
That would have been amazing. We learn basically 2K rated PvP strats from the AI, who only sees machine code. It's literally only sees redhead brunette. Teaches us all how to play the game better. Kind of interesting that Angel is now pushing out the sniper bots. And this is quite a scary looking army at the front of her base here. We've got a whole bunch of sniper bots and shields. They're kind of a little bit going backwards and forwards. But if that army was grouped up, I'm pretty sure it would crush that brick spider in front.
I mean, the AI's problem, it won't actually see that spider, so it's like bots can't target.
Ah, because it's not got the... so the AI isn't playing on Omnivision where it sees everything, so it has to scout. So at least it's kind of limited the same way us humans are there. That's quite cool. I think a lot of the original AIs for the game, when it was shipped vanilla, they could just see the whole map.
So it makes things a lot easier from coding the AI if it can see everything, having to try and factor in intel and know that there's a big threat even if you can't see it.
Phoenix made a beetle. Kazuya got deleted.
Was that the artillery?
Yeah, that's Tech 3 artillery. The artillery finished, and Kazuya gets absolutely rinsed. That must have been like the first shot because the air grid is only just going down.
Yeah, it's rewind time.
So back in the past here, we can see that Angel actually has the most reclaim. And this is the very first shot from the artillery. You see, she is using her Eye of Rian that she's made to actually actively scout here. This is the very first shot of the artillery. And Kazuya here's got 11,000 hit points. He's standing in all of these mass fabricators. And I'm pretty sure he just gets headshotted here. Yes, he does. Oh, Angel picks him off. An absolute one-shot hero. The god sniper from the other side of the map. Probably wasn't even aiming for him, to be quite honest. Looks like she was going for the mechs. What a classic. And the humans looking... Maybe they're a little bit in trouble here. The eco's running away from them. They've got this big, scary army, but they're not really using it. And now there's Tech 3 artillery on the field.
There's 2 players left. I think if M27 doesn't manage to take out the top-rated players, it would probably have a much easier, be in a much stronger position by now.
Yeah. It has kind of done that the wrong way around. I guess it doesn't focus players by their rating. That's more of a human strat. Yeah. But that's what it has that resource buff for, right? It doesn't... It can't do some of the thinking that humans will do. Taily has a nuke down here. But I feel like it's been targeted by the artillery. And I don't know how long he'll be able to keep that shield up. He's building only shields now. It's like only fans, but without the fans and just shields.
And even if it completes, I think M27 should have missile defenses over his core bases.
Yeah, we can mark the... so there's one anti-nuke here. And there's another anti-nuke here, so... Really no attempt... There's no good targets, to be quite honest, for that nuke. I mean, the one thing you could probably do would be to, like, nuke the army and then push. That's a pretty good plan. And kind of interesting that Zigster was retreating his air there. He had more, but he retreated anyway.
And M27 are going to struggle if they... With that middle threat, it's not good at taking on megaliths. Unless it's got a fat boy, and of course it's lost its UE.
Yeah, if it's primering range, then it will struggle. And here comes the Tech 1 bomber defense. Taily trying to dodge here. Strat hover bombing, gunships as well. I think this GC will make it to the base. I'll just split quickly.
It might do a bit of damage.
Yeah, I don't think it's gonna...
The whole base will die.
It's not gonna change the game though. He should be able to take out the air grid. In fact, if he keeps microing it, he should be able to get the anti-nuke. That should be his target right now. To be quite honest, that should be Taily's target. Boom, there goes another T3P gen. Zigster is pushing, and he's got range advantage on these GCs and the Spider here. The anti-nuke does go down, so they're vulnerable to a nuke. But if we look on the map, the nuke is still up. Okay, the nuke is still up.
It's going to get the ACU.
Yeah, I think he's picked him off. Yeah. Phoenix gets taken down by that GC. And that means Angel is in a 2v1 here.
There's a middle battle as well going on.
The GC's focusing the crab. I think this is back when GCs were super strong, so that suck time is much quicker than you would expect. But maybe not enough to defeat this brick crab army. So a loss down here of air grid, a loss of anti-nuke. Angel's also lost her teammate, and now 2 experimentals at the front, which leaves that vulnerable. The shielding has gone up round the nuke. And there's a Tsar out, but... is the Tsar going to go for the anti-air here? That would be smart. No. Strat used on the anti-air. Takes out 2 with 1 bomb. That was quite cool. I think that Angel actually has air control here, technically. 76 ASF. And actually catches Zigster here. Oh, no. Zigster's basically YOLOs for the Tsar, but there's a huge cloud of ASF waiting for him. And he's going to throw away all of his air control there for just shield damage on that Tsar. That's absolutely disastrous for the human team. And the eco's still in Team 2's favor, so still with Angel here. Our 700 rated AI. Zoom that back out. And sniper bots and shields, the order of the day for defending. And through this kind of choke point, that's pretty effective.
Problem M27's going to have is pushing with its forces because there's a sniper
Yeah,
bots
very
worried
difficult.
about the megalith and the SAR. If there's enough anti-air, then it wouldn't want to risk.
Doesn't want to risk its SAR. If we look at the top, while by the way this is happening, there's a T3 engineer drop here. That is a very strange move order that it's been given there, all the way back and then forwards.
Yeah, something's gone wrong with the pathing. It ought to be trying to reclaim. I was going to say normally the engineers have worked out really well for M27, something that I've not used to put in things like Tech 1 artillery drops, because if it just drops engineers, often that has a similar effect. But unfortunately, that time it didn't.
We have seen Angel reclaim, actually, through the game, but kind of bombing the reclaim with the bombers. I guess it doesn't see that bombing reclaim is a thing. And it did take out the nuke. We missed that there, but the nuke launcher went down. So that would have been a great way for the human team to kind of crush here.
It's got 2 Tech 3 artillery, I think. So
that's why
it should start breaking through some of the shields.
Yeah. Once you start getting 2 or 3 of them, becomes a lot. You have to put a lot more micro into it. And the other thing I think is really smart that Angel's doing here is it has 2 anti-nukes loaded, so it's paused the anti-nuke. It's not going to build any more because it doesn't need any more, right? That's really smart. Actually, a lot of players don't do that. This mass fab grid here seems to be the target of Angel's newest T3 RT.
It's probably going to come down to now a race between the human teams trying to build up enough of a ground force to overwhelm M27 and M27 trying to get enough artillery to overwhelm their core bases.
The thing is, this sniper bot shield force here is absolutely terrifying. Especially when you remember that the AI is going to micro it backwards the moment you get close. It's not something you can just walk into. Because there's a lot of T3 units all clogged up behind it as well. Look at that, it's a rave in here. So you can't just smash it. Taily is going for a SAM creep strategy here. And that T3, the triple ball up in the corner engineer, now looks like it's going to be maybe trying to reclaim some mexes. Angel has claimed the entire top right-hand corner of the map. Not built any storages around its mexes up there. I guess when you can perfectly spend all your mass, you don't need to. Yeah, look. Let's look at the spending of our other players. 11,000 in the bank for Taily, 35,000 in the bank for Zigster. That's a lot of mass to be floating in a game like this. It's quite close. Just spend it on T3 power and shields would be better than nothing. Yeah, the Tsar is being very, very indecisive, I think. Keeps going forwards, and then it takes a little bit of anti-air fire, and then it goes back.
Yeah, I think all the SAMs and the mobile anti-air, it's not going to want to...
Doesn't want to throw away its Tsar.
As soon as it gets close enough to trigger that it realises there's too much anti-air, then it moves back, and then it thinks, oh, there's no more anti-air nearby, I'm going to try and attack. So it just ends up in the lead.
Would it consider going like up and out and round to like the top of the map to attack with the Tsar, or is it focused on the closest targets? It seems to want to go away from the middle area, but then when it kind of comes across some anti-air fire and moves back.
There is some, it's very hard to do. So I think I put in some logic to try and have it avoid an area if it had recently tried and failed. It might be linked to its shield, so if it got low on shield health or something.
Okay.
If there's anti-air over a large enough area, then it won't work because it resets. So yeah, ideally it would realise it's not gonna. It's tried and failed to attack the middle and try somewhere else, but yeah, I'm not sure. It could just be too much anti-air in other places as well, so there's no decent target it wants to send in, or it wants to keep it for defense.
Now, if that was deliberate, that would be the best play I've ever seen an AI make, but it just blocked 5 Tech 3 arty shots with the Tsar instead of them letting hit the snipers. But I think that was probably accidental.
Yeah,
So,
I wish I could take credit, but
that would be amazing. Just like perfectly micros all its air units to block shots. So, the response to that SAM creep is going to be mass trebuchet.
I think actually Angel's rapid fire artillery.
Oh my god, that went so quickly we didn't even see it built, but there's a salvation up. How quickly was that built in? What, like less than a minute? Very quick. And another emissary as well, so unless the humans kind of unless they kind of get their act together and make this push work, I think soon they're going to find themselves tabled, really. The rapid fire is going for the nuke, which is back under construction, which is pretty sensible. Taily is massing strats here. I guess to go for an anti-nuke would be the smartest play, but there is an additional anti-nuke also loaded now, so he can't take out the main base. Perhaps he could go for the ACU. So Angel is the only ACU left, so this is the king here. This is checkmate. We're talking about 20,000 hit points, so that is, what, 10 strats, maybe?
ASFs, though, so
there is a lot of ASF.
Really struggle to get a snipe through. You
That's
can't
a lot
rely on
of
the AI being distracted either.
No, that's a really good point.
And actually, you can see the AC is retreating now. So it's probably it's a bit too dangerous.
That Tsar is basically acting as a massive moving SAM. These two engineers here are getting quite confused. They're trying to reclaim this. They're a little bit stuck. They have, however, killed a T3 mech with engineers, so I mean that's pretty good going.
I think the humans really have to put. Looks like they might be pushing now because it's probably now or never.
They really need to go now. If they don't go now, all of humanity is going to crumble, to be quite honest.
Then it's going to come down to the massive bomber horde that M27's amassed in preparation for
Yeah, it's massed this Tech 1 bomber. There's a lot of strats in here as well, actually. And it's not like they can come and get rid of them with ASF, because A, they lost their air grid, and B, there's a Tsar and all these ASF as well. Right now, I feel like the best move they could make would be to nuke this army at the front of Angel's base. And then push. Just push for the ACU.
If they nuke that and then they have their mobile anti-air in front of their experiment.
Yeah, that would shoo away the Tsar.
Also surprised it went for so many monkey lords because all megaliths I think would have been better.
Yeah, definitely megaliths would have been better from Zigster here. They're very effective against the AI. The monkey lord's less effective. Another salvation is on the way. And Angel has absolutely no honor whatsoever. It does not conform to those human ideas. It will just quite happily table you off the map from the other end with artillery. Not very human. Our human team here, Zigster and Taily, they're 1500 rated on global. They know how to play the game. So they're under a lot of pressure now. They really do need to make this push work. Otherwise, I don't know how they're going to come back. Here come the strats. If we go to Angel's view, we'll see the strats are actually in radar. There's an Omni somewhere that's just picked those up, sitting on the bottom here. Now, will it send us something to investigate? I can see it's a huge scout wave going out. They seem to be just on general paths here. In comes this big army.
It will try and intercept the air units.
Yeah, I think it will, but when is it going to come? Well, they've been given orders. It's seen them coming. The bombers are flying over flak anyway, but here come the ASF. Those bombers are not going to survive. The anti-air is kind of out of place for that. Why not just bring it in over your own anti-air, I guess? At least you would wipe air with it. So, down goes the first spider. Tech 3 army is probably going to do quite a lot of damage to these spiders. They don't have the most health. Where is Angel's ACU? Is she in danger is the question. Another spider goes down. Third spider retreats. Overwhelming air here for Angel. Where's that ACU? Well, it's actually in the middle of the base. It's fairly well protected. All of those bouncers getting a lot of kills here, just chewing through the gunships and the Tech 1 bombers. Interesting that bombers are going for the crab and not the bouncers. I feel like there is actually enough anti-air here for Angel to just wipe the bouncers, particularly with the strats. Like a couple of bombs here on these would just absolutely demolish this entire army. But wait a minute.
It will focus down the anti-air, but I think when it gets to a certain...
Angel just took a whole bunch of hull damage on the ACU. A P-Gen blew up right in her face. Another P-Gen goes down. The crab can focus her here. She is in range, but he doesn't have any radar cover of the ACU. No, Angel, don't come out! That's a terrible idea, go back! She's like 2 shots from a crab away from death. Decides to start reclaiming. Luckily, a spider finishes off the crab there. I feel like she's escaped with her life, to be honest. That was a lot closer than she needed to make it.
I think now the push should die out.
Yeah, I don't think there's much left for our humans today.
You can just see their base being destroyed.
Yeah, it's just getting absolutely rinsed by the dual salvation. And on top of that, just choosing to pick off things like the other targets around the map with artillery rather than just grouping everything and firing it. It's picking individual targets with each artillery, which is absolutely disgusting, to be honest. She's still here with just 6,000 hit points under a Tech 2 mobile shield. It's that's basically 3 strats. If they could get 3 strats straight through that and drop the bomb, and I think they potentially could. Nope, the shield is back online. So, oh my god, that Tsar taking so much damage from the flak. Is it going to beam its own bombers? Yes, it is. Or is that not doing any damage? Perhaps I couldn't quite see. Even now, a volley from these trebuchets would potentially do a whole bunch of damage. Angel did lose her anti-nuke here, but she still has 3 Tech 3 RTs and 2 salvations.
No, I think that they focused on any nuke that the other team tried to build, so there's
yeah.
no way they'd be able to get a nuke on.
I mean, what if you built a stealth gen up here, say, and you built the nuke under that?
Yeah, that could work. Although, I mean, M27 will send out spy planes, you'd also have to try and intercept them, but they've probably got so many SAMs scattered around by now that
yeah.
there's no chance that spy planes would make it.
I feel like if they stealth gen a Zigster is in danger here from the salvation. He's taking damage on his ACU. Is that a direct attack order?
Win from this position now.
Yeah, very difficult to win for the humans from here. They are 3-1, 3 and a bit to 1 down on eco, and having to flee with their ACUs from salvation fire, which are being microed onto all the valuable targets around the map, which is horrible.
I suppose a Teddy snipe, there was a chance when Angel was so low health if they'd have got it ready.
Yeah,
I
Zigster
think
potentially
now it
could
would
Taily
survive.
snipe. The other thing that would work would be a stealthed TML base, I think would work. The only issue with that is that the AI doesn't tend to keep its ACU still. Always seems to move it around. So a constantly moving ACU is very hard to attack. And look at that BM in the chat. Angel says to the human players, thanks for the mass, while sitting on what looks like 150,000 reclaim here. And that's just horrible. Not only are you getting crushed, you're getting BM'd the whole time while you're dying. Lost this T3 mechs to an engineer.
Which even a teleport without laser would have like a very small chance of working, because well, I can't remember if I patched it, but I've certainly in earlier versions of M27 I've seen cases where it's killed its own ACU with its Tech 1 bombers defending.
Yeah. We actually seen some, I actually did a cast where a French player was about an hour and a half into the game, and he was the last player left, but he was easily ahead. And a telly boy basically went right next to his ACU, and all of his strats primaried it immediately. And that was GG. Strats coming in here again from Taily, but they're picked off long before they get close. And I feel like our human dreams are dying today. There's just so many units. Look at the amount of T3 engineers here spamming this artillery. It's going up so quickly, and they're not even force building it with everything. Angel's pushing out on the bottom, pushing in the middle against the SAMs, got overwhelming air, is nearly 4-1 up on eco, and has an enormous, almost has, it's about to complete her 5th Tech 3 arty now. And Kazuya says it's not unwinnable, and he's right. There are still ways to come back and cheese the ACU. This is FAF. This game is technically still winnable. But it looks like our humans are going to give up here. They probably didn't realize that we would cast this game of them getting rinsed by a 700 rated AI for the entire world to see. But pretty cool game, to be quite honest, that one. It was pretty close in both directions. There we go. Our human players give up. And Maudlin Brackman, there you go, that can be your semi-official name there, your AI creations win the day.
I mean, it's
congratulations.
probably the closest game I've seen. So.
How do you think...
I mean, when I've watched, this is the second time I watched it, although I couldn't remember how most of it went, but I thought M27 had lost when the humans did that land push and its ACU got down to sort of 1 megalith shot away.
Yeah, that was really, really close. I think the thing is, the human team just didn't really scout enough. I know that comes down to like, that's a bit of a cheesy thing to say, but I feel like if they'd scouted earlier on, they might have known what was coming with the air. There was a lot of air units, and they just didn't scout, and they lost a couple of ACUs to that. And at the end, if they'd seen that Angel's ACU was really weak and low health in the middle, and in range of their mega, they could have picked her off, but just didn't quite have the information there. Alternatively, you know, an Eye of Rian or maybe a satellite would have worked, but I think Angel would have prioritized that with the artillery. So how do you think M27 did there? Is there anything that it did that surprised you?
Probably the main weakness it sort of highlighted in the late game was once it gets to a certain stage, it will try and win with the Tech 3 artillery and rapid fire artillery, and it had a really strong position with one of those already built, but it still was building more.
Yeah.
And the humans were able to almost kill it, whereas it would have been a lot better if it had built a few more land experimentals to support it. So
yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
I mean, if it
there
built like another couple of ZARs and just sent them after the ACU, so that would have been better.
It's also unfortunate to have lost its UEF player, because it tends to do really well when it gets fat boys, because it can always micromanage them, and then it doesn't have the same problem with megaliths.
Yeah, that's a big point there. What tech was it left with? It had Cybran tech. It could have made megaliths. It actually does have a UEF T3 factory here. It has T3 engineers.
Yeah, I think the decision on whether to build an experimental, it will default to the ACU's faction for M27. I think that's one thing I'm fixed for, because I'm doing a new AI M28, which
even more brutal. You're going to savage even more players.
hopefully is weaker than M27 at the moment, but it does have some advantages. One of them is that in that it's decentralized approach, so if it inherits a base, it will effectively carry on as though nothing had happened with that inherited base. So then it would have been building megaliths, for example, or fat boys in that case.
That's really cool. That's really cool development news. Anything else it's doing that's kind of like a little bit new, a bit different?
I mean, at the moment, the main benefits it has over M27 are it's a lot faster. So M27 can, I mean, I don't think this game slowed down, but it can. Late game in these sort of scenarios with so many units, it
there
can
is a lot
slow
of
down
units.
and start stuttering, particularly if you try and run it at faster speeds. So
on like CPU score brutalism rather than the AI itself.
Yeah. So yeah, the game should run fast. It's probably roughly twice as fast, maybe a bit more than M27. And it, yeah, like I say, it's got that sort of decentralized approach to how it manages things. So it sort of it splits the map up into lots of regions and manages each of those individually, which has both benefits and disadvantages. One benefit is if you get into a sort of RT war scenario, it's much better than M27 at rebuilding bases, which makes it harder for the human players to kill it out. The other benefit is probably more compatibility. It's better in sort of more unusual scenarios. So one thing I'm working on at the moment is just having it be able to complete most of the campaign missions. At the moment, it only do the Forged Alliance and some of the Supreme Commander ones, but I'm hoping soon it'll do almost all the Supreme Commander campaign as well.
So does that mean? Oh, you mean it can replace the AI?
No,
or it will play it
like
against
an AI buddy.
A friend. Oh, that's really cool.
You have an AI teammate,
so you can bring M27 to fight for you.
28, but yeah.
28. So it will be a friend. You can bring an AI friend with you. That's kind of cool. The lonely, forever alone types that play FAF can rejoice that they'll get an AI friend. That's quite cool.
The main disadvantage of M28 though is it is weaker competitively than M27 in the vast majority of scenarios. There's some cases where it can beat M27, but most of the time it will lose in a straight up fight. But then M27's had I can't remember how long development, whether it's been sort of a year and a half.
It had quite a lot of time put into the. I remember you saying you've been working on M27 for a long time. Prior to the tournament, it's been through a couple of tournaments as well, right? So.
Yeah, I think it's had 2 Rainbow Cups.
Yeah.
Now.
So will the next Rainbow Cup be on M28? Is the question. You don't have to commit to that, by the way.
Yeah, I'm hoping M28 will feature. I suspect M27 will. Well, hopefully they can both feature, because I think the last one had a variety of AI.
Yeah, there were a few. There was a couple of Uvasos and all sorts of things going on.
I think one limitation with the last Rainbow Cup was in terms of map selection, because they were generally AI struggle on naval maps, and I think RNG, which is another very good AI, had a sort of potential desync that could happen on naval maps, which ruled it out. And then M27 has issues with naval maps because of how its logic works. It could lead to an unbalanced game for one, in that it would just focus down on one human team instead of the other.
Yeah, that did. A few players did get quite badly victimized in the tournament by that. Was quite brutal.
Yeah, I mean, that was with a sort of the more balanced M27. So, because it's deliberate with the maps that were chosen. Ones weren't chosen that M27 would have on the naval side just teamed up on one human, almost regardless of what was done. So I think where it did gang up on them in the tournament, that was partly down to the humans mishandling the AI. But yeah, I say that the issue there is just it meant there's a much smaller pool of maps available. So the hope is M28 will be able to be more balanced on naval maps in M27, so allows a wider pool of maps and So I think there's a place for both of them as well as some of the other AIs like RNG.
Cool. Do you have a player you would like to give an MVP award to, or perhaps someone you would like to give a Derp award to, someone that did something that was perhaps not as ideal as it could have been? There weren't too many misplays, to be honest, in there. It was quite funny when Solidsnakedk's engineer got reclaimed by Tech 1 engineers. Not really any major misplays today, in my opinion.
Taily came very close in sort of the early game to having an early ejection. So I think had they died, then they'd be getting a Derp award or similar.
Yeah, Zigster almost got picked off. He was down to like 800 hit points at one point, and he really only survived because his ally mercied the ACU here the explosion from the ACU took out the gunships that were on their way to kill him. So it was quite close.
Yeah, I mean they both had narrow escapes, so I wouldn't say that they played badly. Plus, I mean, they had to, between the two of them, manage effectively 4 bases worth.
True. Yeah. Managing 4 bases, no problem for 700 rated Angel, though. She crushed. These sniper bot shield armies were absolutely devastating, and I feel like if she had the fat boys as well, the humans would have lost a lot faster. It was really the crab that was keeping them in it, to be honest.
Yeah, I think had they pushed with say 3 crabs instead of 1 crab and what was it, 3 monkey lords, I think.
Yeah, they really should have gone crab heavy instead of the spiders. I'm not sure why they went spiders. There you have it. That's an AI game, a pretty close AI game, probably the best AI game that we've seen for FAF, and that kind of comes down to the wire. These are high-rated players as well, 1500s. They're facing off against the AI. So thanks very much, Maudlin, for first off for creating the AI that we get to play with, but also for kind of joining and explaining some of the things and giving some insight, and for your work on the new M28. That's going to be very exciting to see soon.
That's okay. Thanks for having me.
Thanks very much for that. And thanks everyone else for watching. We'll see you next time.